Hi, I'm Rob from Snow Tracks, here today with a Burton Skeleton Key. And just to go over a few of the key points with this and where it kind of sits in the range. Because on paper, yeah, you're going to be confused with do I go for a skeleton key or do I go for the flight attendant? They are different, but they're very, very subtle, and the difference really comes in how they ride. Because on paper, as I say, they're hugely stacked up and there's very, very small differences. So one of the key differences is in the tip shaping. This is a little bit wider, further back on the snowboard. So your contact edge comes a bit further back. When you actually line up where the stance is on each of these snowboards, although they've got a 10mm taper, the Freeride geometry on this snowboard shifts it a little bit further back as well. So for somebody that's looking for a slightly more powder orientated snowboard, or a little bit more forgiving, a bit more freeride shaping, that's where the skeleton key kind of like pushes out the flight attendant a little bit. The flight attendant, because it is a slightly wider nose further up and a bit more sort of solidly built, that's where it charges through crud so well. So if you're after a more charging orientated snowboard, that's where push towards the flight attendant, that carbon I-beam in that snowboard that runs up and down, just gives it a bit more snap and a bit more kind of like, yeah, sort of like hard charging, whereas this is a little bit more finessed. I really like this snowboard because when conditions are nice and sort of mellow or perfect powder, it just feels really, really smooth. And that is because of the freeride geometry. Ultimately, it's aimed to not catch in powder and it's just aimed to be nice and sort of like nice and smooth and quite nimble. So when you actually look at the tail shaping, it's got a nice little cutout section, and that's great because it gives it that nice kind of platform that where you are sat back on the snowboard a little bit more, it just gives you a little bit more drive from that area. So for tight powder runs throughout trees, yeah, this is so much fun. But as soon as you put it back onto piste, it's nice and cruisy and assured, and kind of gives you that kind of feel that you would expect to get from, say, a Burton Custom. But obviously a custom rider is a bit more versatile, wants a little bit of park, a little bit more around. This is definitely way more set back, and for somebody that is just cruising around one direction, you can ride it a little bit switch, but for somebody that is probably only going to ride like about 10% switch at most, really, that's kind of, yeah, in reality that's where it's at. But for a focused powder board, yeah, it's so much fun. Really, really good addition to the range, and you can't really go far wrong. So the key thing for me is just making sure that you kind of know the difference between flight attendant and the skeleton key, because they are different. They don't look it on paper, but when you ride them, yeah, this is probably a little bit more suitable towards kind of more intermediate to advanced riders or people wanting to go a little bit more powder orientated, whereas the flight attendant is a bit more chargy. Is a perfect platform and what they've built most of their freeride snowboards from. But yeah, for a slightly mellow or powder orientated ride, go and grab one of these.